Welcome to the TDCC Community Live webinar. TDCC stands for the Developing Child Center, located in Dubai. Established in 2012. We have been providing personalized support to over 1,000 children. We have 60 dedicated and committed experts, and we work closely with parents and schools to ensure no child is left behind. We think different, we teach different. We empower, not limit children. Labels like autism, dyslexia, and ADHD are not relevant or perceived as disabilities, difficulties, or disorders that limit children's abilities. We believe that brilliance needs difference. The TDCC services are available in English, French, and Arabic. The inclusive educational services nurture and support the developmental and educational needs and help empower each child to reach their full potential. Occupational therapy assists children in performing and achieving important learning and developmental skills they need in life. Psychomotor therapy is a healthcare profession that is based on a holistic view of the person and is involved in the treatment of different disorders. Speech and language therapy assists children who have disorders of speech, language, communication, and swallowing. Psychology provides both educational and clinical services, including counseling and parenting. ABA therapy focuses on improving specific behaviors. It is commonly practiced as a therapeutic intervention for individuals with autism. Specialist learning support. We assist in developing the academic and social development of students who need support in all these areas. And we design and host local and international training and workshops for practitioners, parents, caregivers, and educators. Just like this one today. We have a few rules to follow during the webinar. Please remain muted while the speaker is presenting. Please give your full attention to the presentation. We will be sending you the replay, so you can review at any time. Please be interactive if the speaker requests your participation. During the question and answer session, we kindly request everyone to type their questions in the chat box and the speaker will address them.
Welcome to the 50th TDCC webinar worldwide, focusing today on speech delay in children, prevention and early intervention. Our speaker, Joa Figali, is a distinguished speech and language therapist with a master's degree in speech and language therapy. Fluent in Arabic, English, and French, Joa brings 7 years of experience specializing in working with children and teenagers. Her areas of expertise are autism spectrum disorder, dysfluency or stuttering, developmental language disorder, feeding therapy, and learning challenges. Joa provides online therapy services, employing evidence-based techniques to enhance the communication skills of children and teenagers. She also actively coaches parents and educational teams on implementing effective strategies at home and in school settings. Beyond traditional therapy, Joa is committed to improving communication abilities through individual and group online sessions. Today, she will share her insights on proactive strategies for addressing speech delays early on. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Joa Figali.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you today. So my name is Joa Figali, and I'm a speech and language therapist, and I hope you are all hearing me well. So today, I'm so excited to be talking about speech and language development so that we understand speech and language delays. And the most important message of today is how to prevent speech and language delays and how to give our children the best stimulation since a very early age, and how to give them the best stimulation and opportunities in terms of quality, in terms of quantity. So today we're gonna go through the speech and language development. So how does the child develop their skills from 0 to 6 years old? We're gonna do all together a quiz by ASHA, which is the American Speech and Hearing Association. And here I will please ask you to participate, because at the moment I can only see my PowerPoint on my screen. So it's a really a way to interact with you. And I really invite you to participate in this quiz so that this webinar becomes a real opportunity of exchanging, of learning, rather than just, listening to some information. So I would really ask you to please participate, and I will explain it later. It should be fun also. After that, we're going to explore some risk factors. And in this section, I will share with you all the risk factors. And I will also insist on some factors that we can really prevent. So again, as I told you, the whole goal, not to scare you, not to tell you that things will go wrong with your new with your babies or with your children. On the contrary, I only want to give you the right tools so that you are aware of everything that is happening with them, and so that you know how to react and when to reach out for help. At the end of this presentation, I will share with you some proactive strategies. And I would now like to thank my dearest friend, who is also my colleague, Gael, because she accepted and she shared with me some of her videos with her baby that I will be sharing with you today. The videos are an excellent example on how to give the best quality and quantity of stimulation to your newborns and to your children at all ages, even before 0 years old. So at the end, of course, I'm going to share some reference, and there will be the Q&A section. And I invite you at all times, if you have any question or anything, to write it down in the chat box. So here we go. Okay, so the baby is here. What should we expect? The baby is with us. It's a very critical window. And I want you to know that from 0 to 6 years old, our babies' brains are like a sponge. They can assimilate, they can take everything we give them. So it's really important for us to give them the right opportunities, the right tools, the right skills, so that they can develop all their skills. Communication and language is the first important skill, so that they use it to interact with their environment. And that's why we really need to be informed about the milestones that I will be sharing with you. And even by the end of this presentation, whoever is interested in this presentation can send me an email, and I can send you the document by PDF so that you can follow up on the milestones with your children. So from 0 to 3 months old, the baby is usually alert to sounds. The baby would smile when you talk and would start making some sounds. Ooh, ah, we're gonna see later in the video. Later on, between the age of 4 and 6 months, you would start seeing laughs. You would start seeing some feedback, some reaction to your different facial expressions. The baby should be interested in following some objects with their own eyes. The baby should react to the toys, and that makes sounds, and definitely the vocalization will continue to grow. So he will start doing some vowel sounds during play, or even on his own when he's playing on his own. At a later age, the baby would look, so just let me move things here. Sorry, okay. So at a later age, the baby should start looking when you call their names, should stop for a moment when you say no. The babbling will show up, mama, 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 up, 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 up. And yes, we should not be, ashamed or afraid of encouraging these babbles wherever we are, in the car, in the restaurant, no matter who is around us, wherever we are. So like right now, I'm in front of you and I will be doing those silly sounds exactly like a baby, because this is how the babies will be able to develop their babbling. We're gonna see that even later on. So the baby would raise his hands, his arms to be picked up. The baby would recognize the names of some people and objects. And at this age, your baby will start pushing unwanted things away. And by the end of the first extraordinary year on this planet, the baby will start reaching out for objects, points, waves, gives some objects, imitate, initiate gestures. And this is where you should expect some words that the baby will start using, like go, like bye, like go, look, mommy. So mama, dada, ball, water, milk. So the baby will start using the words that you've been exposing them to, and by the end of the towards the end of the first year of age. Now our baby is growing up, and between the 13th and 18th month, the baby will start understanding more WH questions, like where. He will start looking around, like where. So when you ask where, the baby would start looking around. He would follow some directions, like give me the ball, show me your nose. He would point to make some requests and comments, definitely and hopefully with the use of the words and the pointing at the same time. Definitely at this age, he will start some combinations of sounds, syllables, and real words. The words will have to, grow the lexicon, the group of words that he has to learn from now on has to be even more and more, so that by the age of between like the 19th, right after this stage, he will have to understand and use more than 50 words for toys, for animals, and body parts. He should be putting more than one, two, three, and more words together, like more water, go outside, so that he expresses his needs, so that he reacts to some questions and answers your questions, and so that he interacts with you. Here, we start really noticing the language and the expanding of the words in his short sentences. He would also follow two-step instructions, use, as I told you, so many words for help and for maybe saying that this is mine and not yours, etc. Later on, the words combination would be even more and more between the age of 2 to 3 years. So the word combinations will start getting noticed by the environment and by everyone. So he would also start using some plurals, switching between verbs in present, verbs in the past. He would use questions such as why and how. He would, like, at this age, we should be able to understand most of his speech. So his speech will be a bit clearer. However, let's all remember that it's still fine to have some articulation errors at this age. So his speech will not be intelligible for 100%, but at least 50% of his speech will be clear. And let's continue with the milestones. 3 to 4 years. At this stage, as speech and language therapist, I hope among you should expect a storytelling activity from her child. Or at this age, yes, children around 3 and 4 years old will start telling some stories that they heard somewhere, something that happened with them. So the sentences would be a bit more elaborated. They would use some comparative words, bigger, shorter, some location words. They would start using some articles. And here, the speech should be a bit clearer than 2 years old. Again, the errors are still acceptable at this age, but things like the intelligibility of our child's speech should get a bit better. With age, we should expect better articulation, better pronunciation. And by the age of 4 and 5, at the end of the age of 5, his grammar would be much better. Some plural, even for the irregular forms, would be used even better. And it's not I'm not only talking about English language, it's the same in all languages, English, French, Arabic, wherever is it. We all have sometimes some irregular plural form, and we should start noticing them in our children narrative skills or in our children's stories. Words like tomorrow, yesterday, that are related to the time, they will be also noticed. They should be also noticed. Definitely here, we the recognition of the letters and the interest, the interest of, you know, writing their names or trying to read some letters, trying to read some words around, should start around this age. And by this age, the speech should be really, really understandable. There are some speech sound errors that are still accepted, but really at this stage, we cannot expect, or we cannot say that it's fine if most of the speech is still unclear. So if the speech at this age is still unclear, we should ask each other's questions. We should ask around. We should seek some help. I hope it was clear, brief. Again, if you need it, if you need the presentation, I believe, like, whoever is really interested in this, I will be waiting for your emails, and I can send you the resources, and I can send you this presentation so that you go back to it whenever needed. It's time for a short quiz so that I interact with you. So here is it. Here it is. So I will be sharing my quiz. So it's also from Asha, and I will ask you, I will count from 1 to 3, and I will ask you on my count, on the count of 3, to type in the chat box either 1, 2, or 3. Here we are. So if you feel like, here we are. If you feel like the first answer is the right one, I want you to click on the chat box 1, but at the same time, if you feel like the second one is the right one, wait, I'm not counting yet. Yasmin, Hamna, wait, I did not count yet. We don't want to give the others the answers. So when I say 1, 2, 3, you click it all together. Okay. So at what age do most children speak 1 or 2 words like mama? Please wait until I say 1, 2, 3. Like mama, dada, hi, and bye. 1, 2, 3. Click. Words. And most of them, like mama, dada, hi, and bye. Okay, so everyone, most of you clicked on 1. Let's see. It's incorrect. So most of the children at this age, at this early age, yes, they start babbling like mama, ma, ba, 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 yes, in a pseudo, like in like a non, that is not 100% a word. Sometimes they babble, sometimes they learn a new word, but it's still okay for them to use like so many words, such as it's not necessarily mama and baba, let's say ball, table, car, everything later, a little bit later in age. Okay, but it's fine. Please stay focused and excited for the next questions. So question number 2, using 2 or more languages. I think you are all interested in this question, and I can't wait for your questions. Using two or more languages with your child when they are learning to communicate will not confuse them. Is this true or false? 1, 2, 3. So 1 for true, 2 for false. Okay, I will go with true, and it's correct. So using one or more languages at home is not an exception anymore. It's the new rule. I mean, most of us, like especially within the introduction that Mylan did. Thank you, Mylan, for the introduction. Sorry, it took me a while to say thank you. Most of us come from different countries. We have our mother tongue. We have the language that is spoken in the country we live in. Like right now, I started learning German, and I can guarantee that it's not easy for me at all. So the children, since a very young age, even before being born, are being exposed to different languages, and this is okay. The brain is ready for that. The brain can take it, can develop many languages at the same time, as long as we are giving it and giving the ears and giving the brain the right words, the right quality of the language, and the right quantity of that language. Next, at what age can most children write their own name? Most children. I'm not saying a child who is really interested in letters since a very young age. 1, 2, or 3. Okay, so I'll go with 3. And it's correct. So you should be worried if your younger child doesn't meet milestones by the same age as their older sibling. 1 or 2. 1 for true, 2 for false. Thank you. I think most of you would. Okay, so this is a very important point, and since we are now talking about language delay, why did I even present the milestones? To give you this direct and main information. So when you wanna see if your child is okay, you have to check obviously the milestones, not by comparing him to other children. Some children, so if you can see, most of my milestones are in an age range. It's not 11 and then 11 and a half, and then 11 and 8, I mean, months old. So there are so many children who would need the whole range. So when we say from 3 to 4, maybe by the end of 4, he will acquire the skill. So to judge if your child, or not to judge, sorry. So if to think that if, or to suspect something with your child's speech and language development, you have to check several milestones. And if by the end of different age range he did not meet the milestones, then we can reach out for help. So it's not by comparing him to his siblings. It's by comparing him to the whole, by comparing his skills to the expected skills that we should see in this age range. Okay. Question number 5. By what age do most children put 2 or more words together, like more water, please, or go outside? 1, 2, or 3? Correct. You all answered with correct answers. You should wait until you know for sure that your child is delayed before seeking help. 1 or 2? Okay, it's like 50-50. I'll go with false. And let me say it again. The earlier you get help, the better. And by help here, and especially today, I'm not telling you to go for therapy directly, but to ask directly. And there is no harm in asking, in checking. We as professionals are being nowadays everywhere. You can reach us by email, by on the websites, even on social media. So I mean, it's not a bad idea to share our worries, to ask, to find the right resources before deciding whether it's okay or not. So the idea behind wait and see should not exist anymore. Okay, now we're gonna jump to the causes and risk factors. And as I told you in the introduction, this section is not to stress you out. This section is really to tell you that although the biological factors are sometimes, imposed with the environmental factors and with the right stimulation and the right input and the right opportunities, we can work on both. You can like the whole idea behind stimulating the early intervention that we believe in, that we highly believe in, is to act directly on the brain itself, is to help the child overcome any a challenge that he might have or that he might have in his in his system. So the biological factors are family history. So if you have a family history, like someone in his close family who had a language disorder or even or like language delay, the child, let's say, might be predisposed to showing us some delays in his speech and language development. The complications before and during and around birth is also another factor that can affect and that can cause the speech and language delay. Hearing complications, and I really want to highlight that closed nose and an open mouth is not always okay. Again, I don't want to scare you. My point here is not to scare you, but to give you the right information. So it's not really okay for a child to stay for like a whole year with a blocked nose and an open mouth. It only means that this area that he uses, the ears, the nose, and the mouth, will be affected. So it will affect what he is actually receiving from his environment, which is the sound, which is the words, and it will definitely affect what is he gonna produce with his environment, which is his articulation. And if he's not hearing well, so how are we expecting from a child to speak or to develop his vocab or to use some sentences? If you want to understand this complex situation, just put your head in underwater and try to hear the other person that's in front of you. And this is a child with, for example, recurrent ear infection. So I've seen so many children that always have ear infections, and for more than 1, 2, and 3 years. So the only way of explaining things to parents is to tell them that the baby or the child is trying to develop his skills, although his head is underwater. So yeah, this is a very important point, and please spread the information around you that a checkup is really necessary. And sometimes it's not sometimes, most of the times it's really necessary with an ENT, with a doctor who is specialized in the ENT area. Definitely your pediatrician would definitely help you, but also sometimes it's necessary to seek out for more in-depth help. Definitely the neurological disorders can affect the development of the language. The oropharyngeal deformity, so if your children have any deformation around their mouth, around this area, of course, the production of the sounds will be a bit difficult for them. So in this section, for example, even especially, let's say in these sections, we should be already seeking out for help once we see the biological factor. The developmental disorders, so at this stage, sometimes the language delay might be an indicator for something else that is more permanent than a simple language delay. And that's the whole reason why I am doing the webinar today, because although sometimes it's just a language delay, we always hear it in different cultures. Like here in Dubai, I thought it was only back in my home country where people would say, it's okay, his mom, his brother started speaking at 6 years old. But actually, all cultures, all countries, they have this mentality of it's fine, it's okay, he will speak when he will be 5 years old. Well, this is not okay, because sometimes the speech and language delay can be an indicator of something that is more severe of speech and language delay, and we should never underestimate it, because a child without language is a child without the right, like at an early age, who cannot have the right tools so that he interact with the others in a communicational way. So in so many cases, and in all cases, we should be providing the child with gestures, with prompts, with so many things that we're going to discuss right after that. Environmental factors, and yes, I did choose this picture on purpose to remind you that the screens are not the besties of your children before 2 years old. So a lack of stimulation from our side and limited exposure to language is also a risk factor that's gonna affect your children's development, especially the speech and language development. So let me just move it, okay? Here we go. So when crying gets you what you want, you will own it. So at a very early, young age, if the child is crying a lot, if the child is crying a lot, and if it's his only way of communicating with us, we should really be giving him some gestures, some reassurance, so many things that we're gonna see right now immediately in the videos, so that crying is not his only way of communicating with us. And here we go, and this is the best part. So we're gonna see now an excellent interaction, as I told you, between a mom and a baby who is 3.5 months old. And I'm gonna highlight the cues or the prompting or the stimulation actually that is that the mom is doing during the video. So in this video, the mom is actually imitating the sounds that the baby is making. And this is where they are really communicating and encouraging this back and forth communication through sounds. And since a very, 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 very early young age. And now we're gonna jump to my favorite video, and I hope it's gonna give you some ideas on how to interact and how to keep stimulating your children's sounds production at all time. And when I say at all time, I mean it.
Papa. Qu'est-ce que tu as?
So here, the baby can be tired, can be impatient, can be anything, or can be just, just babbling. But the mom understood her child. Look at that.
شو بك تعبانة؟
So she confirmed that, yes, I can hear you. Are you tired? Are you tired? In her own language. She is speaking to her in her own
Le coq et le
own
crocodile
language.
sont
There is
contents en
some
allant à l'anniversaire du canard.
Elena.
Et voilà la maison du canard.
Thank you. Next, this is also a very nice video. Eight months old. And if you notice, the child is also waiting for her turn. And if I continue the video, at some point the child would look at her mom as if she was telling her, come on, it's your turn. Okay. Another video of a very early request. This child is only 8 months old and is hungry and she wants milk. And look what does she do with her own hands. So since a very early age, it's really important to give your children some gestures so that they communicate their needs, like milk, like up, like anything that they might ask for. And for the gestures, you can feel free and use whatever gesture you like. You can look for some international gestures or any gestures that you feel like it without complicating things for them. And the last one, and this is also at 8 months old, I want you just to focus on how the mom is giving her instruction without really helping her.
Si tourne la page.
She's telling her, turn the page.
Tourne la page, mommy.
Wait, can you see the video? I don't think you can.
Not here, oui.
Now, can you see it now?
Yes. Oui.
Okay, again. So she's just telling her, turn the page.
Yalla, si tourne la page. Tourne la page, mommy. Oui, yalla, tourne la page. Bravo, tourne. Bravo.
And this is how an 8 months old young baby is able to listen to a simple a direction that is related to a book. So in this section where I give you some tips and proactive strategies, I wanted you to see it with your own eyes. What do we mean when saying imitate the baby's babbling? So go into this circle of imitations. Once it's his turn and then it's your turn. At a later age, show him how to use some gestures. And when I say a later age, it's around like 6 months. It's not 1 and 2 years. At 1 and 2 years, they should be able to use the word. So gestures like more, water, milk. So if they are unable to speak, at least they are able to communicate their needs through gestures. Later on, at around the age of 1 and 2, we should really use so many words on a repetitive in a repetitive way, so that the children would really learn different vocab and different words. We should encourage them by expanding their sentences. So if a child would say at around the age of 2, water please, I would tell him, oh, give me water, please. Oh, okay. So instead of telling him, for example, no, say, give me water, please. So I would show him, I would model, I would make his ears and his brain listen to the right and more expanded way of using the language. And definitely at around 3 years old, as I told you in the milestones, that we should encourage them to formulate a whole story. We should expose them to stories like, this baby is only 8 months old, and she is exposed to stories. And this is something that we should do at every age, to do some interactions around pictures, storytelling, your turn, my turn, show me the dog, show me. So just to keep things interacting between you and your children at all ages. Here we go. So let's just skip this for a bit. I'll just go back to the presentation. Okay. So at the end of our presentation, there are, as we always say, there is like something in between our hands at the time being in 2024, which is called an early intervention. So whenever you feel there is a problem, whenever you feel you might need some help, the earliest you come, the better the outcome will be, because the early intervention is also very, very, very helpful in a way that will change the future of the children if we start at a very young age, the right stimulation, the right exercises, and the right giving them the right tools to communicate, whether it is with gestures, whether it is with language, whether it is with anything, with small pictures, with whatever it is. Communicating is the right of every child, whether they can do it verbally, whether they can do it by typing or just by the eyes. The communication and showing the ways, or finding some ways for every child to communicate with his environment, is a serious and important goal. So don't be afraid of reaching out whenever you feel like it. I shared some references that are much more beneficial than Google and ChatGPT. I really hope when you are worried about something that you have the right resources and the right source of information, so that you know how to act and how to react, and where and what to do more and at what age. So this is it for today. I hope I shared some insights with you. I hope I gave you some ideas on how to interact with your children at all time in different situations. And I really hope that you have the right resources with you whenever you need them. So I think now for the Q&A, if anyone has, and I encourage you to ask questions, please put it in the chat box. And if anyone feels like reaching out after the webinar, I am sharing my email address so that I receive your emails. What do you mean? Does that include aunts and uncles or parents only? Okay. I think Yasmin is okay. Yasmin and Yasmina have more or less the same question. So the gestures. So teaching the children the gestures. It's sometimes I'm being asked about this question. So if we come and sit the child and tell him, yeah, come on, now we're gonna learn some gestures. I don't know, cat, dog. This is just like an activity to imitate. So your turn, my turn. What I really advise here is to teach them gestures whenever they have a need. So if they are crying because they need their favorite ball in front of them that they cannot reach, instead of giving them the ball immediately to avoid their crying, on repetition, we can do ball. Oh, you want the ball? Ball, any gesture coming from anyone, as long as we are all using the same gesture. Oh, ball. The baby, if they have the right imitation skills, they would do this. So that you give them the ball, for example. Any needs can be answered by some gestures, by some sounds, so that you encourage them to imitate you rather than using the crying. Where can I get this video and PowerPoint? By the end of this webinar, write down my email, send me an email, and I can send you the resources and the PowerPoint. Do we have to be worried if child is not babbling or saying mama, baba by the age of under 2 years old? Do we have to be worried about it? Okay. So, Kelvin, thank you for your message. So the thing is, language delay doesn't necessarily mean autism. Okay. So when we are talking about autism, the autism has other signs. Okay, one of those signs can be like one of those signs is language delay because they are not communicating, but a language delay does not mean autism. Autism is when we have a lack of communication, a lack of interaction with the eyes, a lack of interaction in general, some repetitive movements. We have different signs for autism that are different than language delay. Can you send me? Yes. Please send me an email for the presentation. Send email. I think the reason behind the delay, does that apply to? Okay, so I'll read it out loud. My question was about family history being the reason behind the delay. Does that apply to parents only or extended family like uncles and aunts? So usually when we are asking about family history, we're asking about the whole family, the close family and the extended family. But I want to highlight something. A family member who has or who had any family history within language delay or language disorder should, I mean, it does not mean that the baby or the baby who is linked to this person will definitely have language delay, but it's just a risk factor. It's not a direct cause. So sometimes when we have someone, I mean, this thing, like this in this scenario, we just have to, give some extra stimulations, work more on our communication with our babies, give them more time, give them the right stimulation, the right imitations, the right tools to communicate, to prevent language delay. Please show more gesture example. There are so many gestures that you can use. I simply use in my therapy room. I use some gestures like the most basic that are important for the basic communication needs. So if a child wants more bubbles from me, so like more, give me more, give me water, milk, anything that you feel like it. Yes, no. Sometimes I use my hand for like yes, to exaggerate. So I can also send you some resources for some gestures that you can use. But again, if they are used just to show the child the gesture, exactly like you are showing him a picture, it's not really used in the right context. It's better to use it to give him how he can ask for help, how he can ask for his need, how he can ask for milk, how he can ask for water. I have a child who's speaking by the age of 3 but suddenly gone. Now he is 5 years old. He diagnosed autism. I would like to know the reason why it's suddenly gone. In specific cases, I cannot have an answer without seeing the child, without learning about his history, his developmental history. So you can reach out after the webinar and we can discuss that later on. A child aged 10 grade 4 experiencing some problems in reading. Some words are read differently, like pairing is read parent, and has lots of mistakes in writing. How can parents interfere, and should he see a specialist, or it will go with training and time? I mean, hearing from a professional the sentence "it will go with training and time" is a bit difficult from us to say that, because this is not what we actually do. So yes, usually it's really important to seek out for help whenever needed. It does not mean that the therapist will tell you, yes, okay, now we have a disorder, we have to work together. But with the right information and with the right guidance, we can prevent further mistakes, further gaps between his peers and him, or doesn't necessarily compare to his peers, but between the gap that can be between what is asked for him and what he can do. We can reduce it with the right intervention and with the early intervention. And this also applies to the reading and writing, since even younger than grade 4. So it depends on the situation, but in this case, yes, I do highly recommend that you read about it a bit more, and seek for some sort of advice, let's say. Would selective mutism be considered as language delay? So selective mutism, it's not language delay. Anyway, and to put the diagnosis of selective mutism, we should be 100% sure that the child has perfect language skills. So he can really use long sentences or can talk, or depending on his age, obviously, but only when in certain situations he stopped talking at all. So this is selective mutism. So it's not considered as language delay. Language delay is basically when a child is needing more time to develop his language. So when he is presented, for example, at the age of 3 years old, and he only communicates with some words. So if he did not develop sentences. Child is 4 years plus and he's not able to pronounce like Sahja, and his speech is not intelligible. Any suggestions how to about this child? So again, around the age of 4, there are some sounds that are still okay. So for example, the sound of the I put in the PDF, I put a chart in the PowerPoint, so I can also send it to you later on, so that you track also whenever needed. So usually around the age of 4, the child should be intelligible overall. We should be able to understand most of his speech, not only 50%, like most of his speech should be intelligible. Now, if there are some sounds that are not articulated properly, depending on the sound, it can be fine, or it can be treatable and with some exercises. But now sometimes the production of some sounds, the speech sound errors, sometimes they might indicate something that we are not aware of regarding the language development. So in some cases, it's good to ask to see with a speech and language therapist. In other cases, if it's just a sound or two, and the child is really able to speak and long sentences and being very communicative, then it should be fine. As I am, my student diagnosed on ADHD, however, he is also a speech delay. That what are the activities should be appropriate for him to enhance communication? He's 12 years old and he could hardly express his feelings. So in this case, talking about feelings is something that we start teaching since a very early age, around the age of 5 and 6 years old, because the children would be able, even less, but around the age of 5 and 6 years old, children should recognize 100% the feelings, should be able to communicate their feelings, should have a self-awareness, some tools to recognize their own feeling and to communicate it whenever needed, rather than communicating it with tantrums or with non-verbal ways. In this case, the speech and language difficulty should be treated. If we are talking about a 12 years old, then it should be definitely treated. And there are so many ways where we talk around a picture about different characters that are facing different situations, and where we ask the child, what do you think of this character? What is he doing? How is he feeling? What do you do if you were in his place? So there are these self-awareness questions and some vocab that is related to emotions that we should tackle with our child, whether he has ADHD or not. And stuttering in some cases, age 4, but didn't stutter before, considered part of speech delay. No, stuttering is not speech delay. Stuttering is another communication challenge, depending on the age, depending on the causes, on the factors, on the risk factors. In some cases, it is okay. So when a child is between 2 to 4 years old and he is experiencing some situations where he is expanding his language, expanding his sentences, they might get stuck on some words. But when the stuttering or getting stuck on the words tends to go for so long, for more than 6 months up to a year, when the stuttering is around the age of even more than 4, 5, and or if the child is completely fine with his language and he is stuttering, then we might be dealing with stuttering, which is something else, and which I can definitely help with if you want to reach out by the end of the session of the webinar. What are the strategies for children who choose not to speak due to learning different languages at home? Okay, so so basically, I mean, learning a language should be something fun, should be something that is not forced on children. My advice is to always expose them in a very funny way. If you're gonna tell him, come on, now speak in any language, let's say in Arabic, now speak it now in Arabic. I did not understand. So if you're gonna stress out the child, he will hate the language anyway. So my piece of advice for all of you is to feel free to use the language that you are comfortable with your children. And if you wanna ask him to learn more languages, you should find some funny ways of teaching him, by watching a video and commenting, by doing a list of words, drawing them. This is how we say it in Arabic, this is how we say it in English, this is how we say it in French. So just to transform this learning skill into something that is really fun. Can you share some communication board with pictures that I can use to my student? There are so many resources online that can be found online. So yes, you can reach out by email at the end of the webinar, and I would love to, depending on your students' needs, because we don't want to use some pictograms that are not actually needed. So it depends on his needs again. Any other question? I'd like to ask if you offer training for parents to implement strategies at home or speech therapy sessions only. Okay, so 100%. So the training offered to parents is usually can be done on its own or can be done within a speech therapy sessions. So the speech and language therapy sessions should also have inside of them some coaching and training for parents. So yes, I do only coaching, or I do coaching and speech therapy sessions. How can you strengthen the confidence of the learner with speech delay when he gets sad when not being able to express himself or herself? We encourage him. We say, instead of saying, no, it's wrong, we're going to have to say, oh, yeah, and then give him the feedback. So if the child is really frustrated and he can only say, no, 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 but he is thinking of some things that he's unable to express, instead of getting frustrated with him, so we can tell him, oh no, you don't want to eat your cucumber, oh no, you don't want it. So we just model the sentence, and then he should be able to repeat it. It does not necessarily mean that he's going to repeat the whole sentence if he has a speech delay, but he at least hears it and hopefully will repeat it later on. Last question. What if 4-year-old child speaks with a strong vocab but struggles not to articulate their words or sentences? At around this age, if he's not really intelligible, so if he has a really strong vocab and his sentences are really good in terms of quality, so in terms of content, in terms of subject, verb, object, extension, but the production of the sounds, so the articulation is not at least 70% intelligible, it's not a bad idea to ask to reach out for some help without being afraid of anything, since he has a strong vocab and since he is producing words and sentences. Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you, Joa. Thank you for the beautiful presentation.
Sorry, Mylan, just one last thing.
Question. Okay, one last question.
Stuttering and language disorder and autism is not speech delay, is not speech and language delay. Okay, feel free to reach out after the webinar. I would be happy to help you. Bye.
We would like to take this chance to share with you some updates from TDCC.
The popular summer phonics program is now here. TDCC is excited to bring you this summer the best of the latest evidence-based literacy practice from the USA. Led by dyslexia and literacy specialists, this program offers engaging and interactive learning, small group instruction, and personalized strategies for success. It boosts skills, instills confidence, and provides a head start for the new school year. The intensive summer camp of the Inclusive Education Services will start on the 8th of July this year. Specialist educators and therapists will provide exciting opportunities for children aged 3 to 13 and can enjoy 6 weeks of fun to discover. Learn and play on this transformative summer camp with 2:1 child to adult ratio for optimum result. Activities include arts and crafts, cooking, sensory play, academics, social skills, fine and gross motor skills, language and communication, attention and listening. Enroll your child now.
Caregiver training. This program focuses on developing knowledge, skills, and values necessary to provide quality care for children of determination. The training will cover topics such as the basic needs of the child, communication strategies, understanding behavior and sensory needs, social and play skills, and fostering independence and home routines. This is facilitated by experienced and committed educators in the Inclusive Education Services led by Amina Shazib, psychologist and head of Inclusive Education Services.
Secure a spot in our Inclusive Education Services. This is open for children aged 2 to 13 years old. This is a unique program integrating both educational learning and therapeutic strategies designed for children with learning difficulties. We provide early intervention programs, preschool intervention, life skills, and school readiness program.
Eating therapy. This therapy session helps children who are struggling to eat. Our therapists provide evidence-based approaches on how to make mealtime enjoyable that would eventually end mealtime struggle. Spot therapy combines speech-language and occupational therapy for children, offering enhanced attention, improved social skills, integrated language, and communication development to children, and consistent support for parents and caregivers. Sensory integration therapy. This is an evidence-based approach that benefits children beyond autism. Our therapists create a sensory-rich environment using specialized equipment. This therapy focuses on developing a strong sensory system, which is crucial for motor skills, executive functions, and behavior. Thematis listening therapy. This is a transformative auditory training therapy available for children and young adults.
This therapy listening method has been proven effective in enhancing attention skills and communication abilities. Neurofeedback therapy. At TDCC, we specialize in neurofeedback therapy for children and young adults. It promotes mental well-being in young individuals with anxiety, depression, ADHD, and many more. Visual perception therapy. In this therapy, children improve their visual processing skills through specialized activities and exercises. It enhances visual discrimination, tracking, and spatial awareness, leading to improved academic performance and coordination. This is tailored to each child's needs. It promotes independence and success in daily life. Spider cage therapy. This is a transformative intervention for children designed to address motor challenges and sensory integration difficulties. This therapy optimizes motor skills, coordination, balance, and sensory processing to foster the overall development of children. Our handwriting program is available in Arabic, English, and French. Children who are struggling to write legibly can benefit from this program. TDCC is home to highly skilled dyslexia and literacy specialists who conduct personalized assessments to identify specific challenges individuals face with reading, writing, and spelling. We use evidence-based strategies and interventions, and develop tailored plans to improve phonological awareness, decoding skills, and spelling abilities, flourishing and leadership for the youth. This is a resilience-based program designed and delivered by a social behavior counseling expert, Kipa Shrestha, for children aged 7-12 years old. The FLY children will learn positive self-talk, mindfulness practices, and gratitude practices. By the end of the 5-week workshop, they will have developed the necessary skills and character traits to face challenges with resilience and lead a flourishing life. Educational psychology. Our expert psychologists provide educational assessments and schools observations using evidence-based tools and strategies to help parents and schools make informed decisions about the students' education. Counseling services. At TDCC, our psychologists incorporate proven cognitive-based therapy and practical strategies and solutions to support children, adolescents, and their families to meet family objectives. Parenting services. The parenting services focus on specific challenges related to child development, behavior management, and communication. It empowers parents and caregivers with the tools in helping children achieve a happy, healthy, and well-adjusted life. If interested in any of these programs, please contact us. Have a screenshot with our contact details. You can also share this to your friends and to anyone who needs support. Thank you for joining us today. For updates of the next webinar, training, and services, please scan these core codes. Follow us on social media. Visit our website for more information and booking of appointments. Thank you once again to our speaker and to everyone who joined us in the Zoom and
Could you take a minute to give TDCC and Joa Figali a 5-star rating on Google Reviews? Please scan the QR codes on your screen. Thank you, everyone.